You can go first. Somebody else can go. Do I
Okay.
go first?
I'm Ashley.
I'm
I'm
Ariel.
oh. Okay, I heard Ariel.
Sarah.
And I'm Kelly. Okay, let's get started then. I thought the readings were pretty interesting this week, and that little video. The first question is, which of these readings do you side with more, and why? I sided with the article by it was Julie Beck, yes. Only because it has more of an LDS perspective on it, and it focused on things like not only bearing children but teaching our children. And well, what was that one thing that really stood out to me? I think it was just more of a spiritual awareness, and not just in the home to take care of the house. And I think that's why I could relate to that one better. What about you guys?
I agree. I liked hers a lot better. And I think why I did is because just while reading it, you could kind of tell that it was inspired. Like if she wasn't just making this stuff up just to talk about it. It was. She had good references like the family proclamation. So I just knew that where she was coming from was a lot more reliable than the other article was.
I think so too. Hi, Melanie. We just started.
Hi. Sorry, I'm a little late. I just got
That's
my
okay.
phone.
So, with me, this is why I was discussing it with my husband, because I obviously agreed with what she was saying, but I had a ton of hang-ups at the same time. Y'all probably think I'm this really bad person, but I felt like the talk was a very black and white talk, and it was just really overwhelming to me, because I was like, I didn't want kids instantly. Am I an unfaithful person? Because in the talk she was saying faithful women desire to have children, and I was like, she's implying I'm not faithful because I didn't want children immediately. And so I was just like, hey, you need to listen to this and you need to tell me your opinion, because he's a lot more level-headed than I am. And so I obviously agreed with her talk, but I did have hang-ups because it was such if you are not doing this, then this is wrong, or if you are doing this, then this is right. And I was just so I can't do that. I'm human. I'm working. I'm in school. I'm sick all the time because I'm pregnant. I'm just I can't do it all. And so I had this panic mode when I listened to her. And so I really liked it, but at the same time I felt really tiny and inadequate when I was listening to her talk. And so then I read the other stuff, and I was like, they make some good points because they were more oh, gray area. And so obviously I agreed with what she said, but it was also really overwhelming for me when I listened to it and read it, because I was just like, ugh, I'm a terrible, unperfect person. So, yes.
I think we need to remember that.
And I was like, I want their opinion in my discussion group today. So I was excited to talk to y'all.
I think what we need to remember, though, is that we're all in different stages. Even though the goal might be what she had in her talk, we're all not going to be at that same level and read the talk and go, okay, this is what I'm going to do, and bam, we're perfect. I think we need to take, note the things that we're good at, and then note where we need to improve. And, I don't think you're a terrible person because you didn't want children right away.
Thank you.
I think that might be a smart thing in some, with some situations. So I think we do need to remember where we are and not feel or take that expectation on that we have to be so perfect. I don't know about you guys. I guess I'm a lot older than you guys. But when I was young in the church, there was this level of you had to be perfect. And it was such kind of a strain. It was just so expected that you had to be perfect and you had to do this. And if you didn't, whoa, that one's bad. And so it was terrible. So I really like now as an adult that I'm in the church, and it's like, we're not perfect, and that's why we have the atonement. And we set goals, and we continuously work to get where we are. And as an advocate, I think that we do need to go through that and experience it so that we learn for ourselves, and then we can share that with other people. What do the rest of you guys think?
I think along with that, like, the prophets and apostles have talked about how, like, they give us the doctrines and the principles, and that we all have different situations, and so we all have to apply it to our lives and how it, like, I don't know, we can't change it, but we can make it fit for our lives, if that makes sense. So, and also everything has, like, a time and a season. So, I don't know. The first thing that came to my mind is, like, the word of wisdom, but just how, I don't know, Heavenly Father would let us know when the time is right, and, like, I don't know. I just think applying that, like, we become perfect, line upon line, precept upon precept, and so it's not all going to be at one time. And so I think growing and learning on all of that is really important, and kind of like, I don't know, kind of how I saw the talk. But, yeah.
Me too, and I think an important thing to remember is that our season is different from other people's.
Mm-hmm.
We're not all going to go through the same thing at the same time, and that's especially what I've learned. And sometimes you go through them again, so it's just life. Anyone else?
Hey, Spencer. Sorry, someone's at my door.
Enter the door.
Are we just on the first question, or are we just talking about the talks and what we thought of them?
Well, we're just on the first question. I was going to read it to you, but it looked like someone was at your door. So,
Okay,
anyways,
yeah.
I'll reread it so you know which one you have. It said, which of these readings do you side with more and why? And it was the two articles that we read for the mothers.
Well, I definitely sided more with Sister Bex. I was like Sarah. I would do with a lot of what she was saying. Just that's the goal of what we're striving for, but obviously all of us aren't there yet. But I definitely could. I just felt like there was more truth and more doctrine that she based her talk off of, rather than the other one. There's a lot. I mean, there's a lot of truth and there's a lot of philosophies of men mixed in it. I don't know if you guys felt the same way.
No, I felt the same way too. Mm-hmm. And as I read through it, I'm like, oh, because we just have a few different ideas on some things, and I'm like, I don't like that one.
Yeah.
So, okay, let's move on to the next one. What did you think was the tone and focus of What Women Know article? Did you see any of the philosophies of men mingled with doctrine? If so, and where? And let's see, it's exactly, I didn't put it to words, but when you said it, I'm like, exactly. One was about the house cleaning. Cleanliness depends upon access to resources and has more to do with priorities than purity of heart. And it just kind of struck me. It's like, I'll just have to show you. You guys can see behind me. I'm obviously not clean right now, with working so much and 4 classes and single parent and we got the pig for 4-H and scouts and everything that's going on, rugby. I think that's it. The dog, it's like I want my house to be cleaner, but at this point in life, this semester, I obviously took on too much. So my house suffered a little bit, and I'm like, but that has nothing to do with my heart or what I intend. And even without resources, I would clean with water, and I'd still think that would be better than nothing. You know what I mean? I still think it would be clean, maybe not disinfected, But you know, I almost took offense to some of this stuff that we read about. I don't know. What did you guys think?
For me, I felt like their talk or their it was like self-centered almost. It wasn't focused on family or children, but it was all about what they wanted and what they are getting out of stuff and what was
Yes.
best for them. And I feel like with this whole like women's movement that's kind of going on right now, there's a lot of good things about it and a lot of downfalls too. Like they want to be heard, but they should also be thinking about their families and children's first and not themselves. I think.
Exactly. Definitely agree.
What did I think? I don't know. Oh, I don't know. I just agree with exactly what both of y'all are saying. I mean, I read it and I was like, I mean, like I said earlier, like it was more of that like gray area that, you know, but yeah, I felt like it was more of just like, we are who we are and you guys can just deal with it. That's like how I thought when I was reading. It was just like, we're independent and we're going to do and be our own woman and, you know, just take the more modern, kind of going along with what we talked about like 3 or 4 weeks ago or whatever on religion is old school or whatever, and that's not really how it should be. Like, we should still focus on families, and that's what I agree with Ariel saying. You know, it didn't really focus on families too much anymore.
Right.
Or as
Right. Anyone else?
One thing that stuck out to me.
Oh, go ahead.
Oh, sorry. Yeah, one thing that stuck out to me in that article was just when they were talking about like nurturing, and
Yeah.
how like they just talked about how like everyone can be a nurturer, and I agree with that. But I don't know, I just feel like the way they talked about it, it was just like, I don't know. I just felt like it was more of, okay, everyone's just a nurturer, and it's not like a woman's responsibility to be that type of thing. And I don't know. I just kind of felt like, I don't know, Sister, who is it? Yeah, Sister Beck's talk. It's, I don't know. I feel like there's a different type of nurturing when it comes to like, I don't know, motherhood. It's more focused and it's more concentrated, and it's slightly different. So I don't know, like I think everyone can be a nurturer, like men and women, but at the same time, I feel like there's a special nurturing that comes with being a mom. But, so I
agree exactly. When I read that too, I'm like, but wait, not, you know, it's not just something anyone can do. Which, yes, I agree with you. Like the family, of course, they're going to nurture their kids. The fathers are, but there is a special place for mothers to nurture. Thanks. Then Melanie.
And I was, they said was pretty offensive too. I was like, some of the things they said, I was like, oh boy. But I thought it was pretty interesting in the beginning. They say, let's see, several ideas within the body of President Beck's talk conflict with our inspiration and experience. I just thought that was really interesting, just starting off with that, because, I mean, President Beck she's called of God. She has that, she's called in a way that she can receive inspiration. Isn't she over the Relief Society? And I just think that's interesting.
Yeah.
that what she said conflicted with their inspiration, even though she was over the Relief Society. I don't know. I just thought that was pretty interesting.
I think all of it was pretty interesting because it's just so different from what I think, you know, just because the world is rough sometimes, I think. Okay, let's move on to the next question. If there were a document titled What God Knows About Women and Mothers, which of these two articles you read would most closely resemble that? Well, I think that's pretty easy. What about you guys?
Yeah.
That's a given. Sister Beck wins. And I think that is because she does tie it in with religion and personal revelation. I know personally, I have had personal revelation when it comes to my kids and family, and it's great because I don't have a priesthood holder. You guys know I'm single by now or divorced. Um, it's sometimes a hard position to be in when you don't have someone else to rely on or the priesthood, because it would be great to have that in the house. What do you guys think? Any other comments on that one? Okay, I'm going to move on to the next one. What do you know a woman's role to be in our Father's plan? As I read, I'll go ahead and go first. As I read, I always knew that women's role was to support the men in the priesthood and, be there and be a good support for them. But I just lost it. But in this talk, what was interesting to me was that it talks about mothers honoring sacred ordinances and covenants, and that was part of their role, and that struck out to me a lot because I always think of we're kind of behind the scenes and we just support the priesthood, but a lot of it is honoring our covenants and as well as supporting the priesthood. What do you guys think?
May I answer next?
Yeah.
Is that okay? Sorry, because I need to go really soon, and I just want to make sure.
Oh, go ahead.
One more question. So when I was like reading Sister Beck's talk about knowing our Heavenly Father's plan and everything, it was like you need to know who you are, and that was like the whole thing. You need to know who you are. You need to know that. And then it just comes to you're a child of God, you're a daughter of God, and that like we have been given the opportunity to, raise children or have a home or, whatever our situation may be. And so that's kind of just like, when I read it, I was like, maybe I just need to do a better job at reminding myself on who I am exactly. I'll be more confident and not so freaked out with the things that she is saying. So that's kind of what I got out of it personally, was just I was like, I know there's a plan for all of us, and I just need to remind myself about that plan, who I am and what I have the potential to become and where I can go. And so that's kind of what I got out of all of it with that question.
Cool.
If that made sense.
And it does.
Okay.
Anyone else?
Well, I don't know. The question just made me think of, so for my Family Foundations class, I think a couple semesters ago, they just talked about the roles of mothers and fathers and how they kind of parallel each other, and how the mother brings physical birth and the father brings spiritual birth, and how a mother brings helps with physical growth, and fathers help with spiritual growth, and they kind of go hand in hand that way. And so I don't know, just knowing the roles that way and how they just go together, and so it's not like one is more important because they're equal but different. And I don't know, that's what kind of reminded me of.
But it's got that balance, is what it is.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And anyone else have thoughts on that one?
Just kind of what you guys have said. Just what the proclamation states, we're the nurturers. Obviously, the father can nurture too, but our main primary responsibility is to nurture. And we're home with the kids, or we're the ones that are there in the home, and so it's our responsibility to nurture and teach.
And it's a huge and it's an important job because as a single parent, I've had to work out of the home, and I firmly believe that the mother should be home and with the kids. Just as a little side note, it is hugely important. And when they become teenagers, it's just as important then as it is when they're little toddlers. So that's just my personal point of view.
Something that I got out of the talk about this too is how they talked about how the mom should be, and I guess dad should be teaching the kids like the gospel in the home first, and then what they learn at church is kind of echoing what they learn in the home. And I thought that was really powerful, a powerful thing that we can do as mothers too, teaching them the gospel in our home first, and then sending them out into the world.
Definitely. One of my goals as mom has been to teach my kids, and especially my younger one, because it's changed so much, to find his own testimony and to know his own beliefs. And actually, his dad questions a lot, and I had to teach him early, to figure out what he believed so that he could defend himself with his dad, which is really sad. But at age 5 and 6, his dad was really questioning him about the church. So starting early and teaching them to learn for themselves, I think is very important for mothers. Okay, shall we move on?
So I'm going to say bye. I'm really sorry. I've got to go.
Bye.
Bye.
Okay.
Yeah.
Thanks, Sarah.
Bye.
Okay, now we'll move on. How might a man's understanding and conviction of a woman's role dramatically impact the eternal well-being of children, families, and women? I think that if the man or the husband has that same conviction, you would both be working for the same goal. And he would be supportive of the mother and her nurturing just as we're supportive of him and his teaching and priesthood. And I just think it would be the common goal. And ultimately, the family would be better off with that. What do you guys think?
That's what I put too. I just said that they would be more respected as a couple if the father respected what his wife did in the home and supported everything that she did there. So kind of same thing you said.
Yeah.
And along with that, they would better appreciate, I feel like a lot of what the mother does is behind the scenes, kind of stuff that doesn't get appreciated as much. And I feel like if the father really knew and understood the role of the mother, that they would appreciate it.
I think so too.
Yeah.
I agree.
Anything else? Disagree? We kind of covered it.
Yeah, I don't know. I think it would definitely change the dynamics of the relationship, especially like if the husband was, I don't know, the husband and the wife were respected each other equally in their divine roles. So I don't know. I think it would definitely make a better marriage and family environment.
I think so too. Yeah. Okay, on we go. The Savior has said that in the last days even the very elect shall be deceived. How can we avoid being deceived by the world's philosophies of men and women's roles? Well, I say it's pretty easy, but my first thought is as we learn, we've been taught to pray about what we're learning or what we're hearing, and I think that would definitely be vital in everything we hear today, in today's world, that we do have to pray and to learn what is true and what is not. I think we can easily be deceived today because a lot of the world's philosophies are more about me, women's rights, what we should do, and less about giving service and doing things without being acknowledged. Like most mothers, we go around doing all kinds of things for our kids, and we're not acknowledged, and half the time, the husbands don't really realize what's happening. It's just a clean house every day when he comes home, and you know, um, but the world is all about selfish tendencies, and I think we need to be about not being selfish, and so definitely to avoid being deceived, we have to pray, and also to pray with our husbands if we have one, and get their insight as well. What do you guys think?
That's what I said too. Is the best thing we could do is pray about it. But I also think that if we want to we should research kind of what we've been talking about all semester. We should definitely research, but look in places that we trust. So look on the church's website or talks from prophets and apostles, because there's so much stuff out there that you could find.
Definitely, yes.
On either side. So obviously, if we're of LDS background, we should look towards those sources, because that's what we believe in.
Right.
Yeah, and I think along with that, I agree. Looking at our trusted resources, and especially from the apostles and prophets, and kind of what you guys were saying about prayer, how it talks about in the scriptures with Nephi and his father, and how he prayed to know for himself. And so I don't know, by looking at the trusted resources and just the LDS resources and learning what the prophets are saying, and then taking it and learning for ourselves through prayer. I think that would be a good way.
Definitely.
I put the scriptures just because the scriptures in the proclamation, just because those are solid, those won't change, just as the world's view of the roles of women and men, they will constantly be changing, but the scriptures don't change, and so that's a good solid resource that we can always use.
I like that one.
Mm-hmm.
I do.
That's good.
Anyone else have anything to add? No? Shall we go on to the summary?
Yeah.
That's good.
Does anyone else want to do the summary? I can do it, but hopefully it's not too short. Okay, so we first talked about which article we liked and why, or that we sided with, and most of us sided with Sister Beck's article because it was more LDS based and what we're familiar with. And then we talked about the article of what women know, and if we saw the philosophies of men mingled in the doctrine, and of course we did, and we mentioned some instances where that was true. And then we talked about if there were a document titled What God Knows About Women and Mothers, and which article would closely resemble that title, and all of us quickly agreed that that was Sister Beck. And then we talked about the woman's role in our Father's plan, and we also discussed man's understanding and conviction of a woman's role, and how the impact of the eternal well-being of children and families and women, and that we believe that the men, if they have a better understanding of the women's role and what women do, that we would be on common ground with common goals for our eternal lives with our families and with the women. And then we also talked about in the last days how we could be deceived by the world's philosophies of men, and how we can avoid that, actually. And we discussed praying, researching, and using the scriptures, and I forgot what else. But anyways, that's a brief summary. What do you guys think? Did I miss something?
That was pretty good.
Yeah, I think you got it. I think you got everything.
You're funny. All right. I think we've covered everything. I was going to just double. Yeah, it looks like we covered everything here. And who's recording it tonight? Is it Ashley?
Yeah, I will stop the broadcast.